all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. It's our Saturday night 2-hour Paranormal Portal extravaganza, and we are absolutely thrilled that you're here with us as we dive headfirst into the incredible unknown that is the Paranormal Portal. And welcome to you all. Hope your weekend is going good. It's Saturday night now. Wow, it's just been a nice long weekend, I think, for all of us. So hope you guys have enjoyed it. And a special thank you to all of you who continue to spread the word about the Paranormal Portal. It's awesome. We are meeting new listeners all the time, and a lot of that is due to all of you out there. So thank you very much. If any of you would like to be a part of that effort, then please feel free. It helps us out a ton if you share these videos to your social media and let other people know what the hell we're doing here. Not that we actually know what we're doing, but at least we put in a good effort. And we do our best to entertain you as well as we know how. But welcome, everybody. I'm not here alone tonight, folks. I am joined, of course, by my firstborn son, who is also part-time co-host here on the show. And that, of course, is my boy, Mr. Sheldon Thomas. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Glad to be back on the show after such a long break. I just couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I know. It's a tough thing when you're you get into the rhythm of doing the shows, and then if for any reason something breaks up that rhythm, it's just like, I find myself feeling the same way.
I felt a little lost in my time without the show. It was just,
yeah, I understand.
Couldn't get a hold of myself.
I do have empathy for you because I know exactly what you're talking about. Excuse me, jeez. There was dinner. This is brought to you by my dinner. No, I don't know where the hell that came from. It was just like, whoa. I did actually have a Coca-Cola earlier, so I think I'm still paying the price for that. But my apologies. I don't ever want to seem rude and crass as I'm making noise into this microphone. Most of the noises are ones I want to make, but every once in a while those other ones pop in. But we are going to have a whole fun-filled night of the incredible unknown here on the Paranormal Portal, and that basically means we're going to dive into the paranormal as usual. We're going to dive into some news in just a minute here, but first and foremost, Sheldon, how was your Thanksgiving? Good?
Oh, fantastic. We did something a little unorthodox this year. We ended up having crab legs. We didn't end up going to help homeless shelters like we were planning. They all the slots were filled, but you know what? That's a good problem to have, I think. So
Yeah.
we just kicked back and had some lobster legs and
Lobster or
stuffed
crab?
our faces.
Did you have lobster legs or crab legs?
Oh God, yeah, crab. That
Okay,
one.
all right.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
I mean, they're both, aquatic creatures and all, and they both have shells, but that's where the similarities kind of end. But anyway, yeah, I don't think there's much to lobster legs, but crab legs, on the other hand, those might be a lot of fun. I love crab legs, as a matter of fact. But that's
it was
cool.
great.
Yeah, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, what a good kid. I mean, he was planning on going to volunteer at homeless shelters and stuff on Thanksgiving. I mean, that's kind of stuff that warms Daddy's heart. But
Good.
like you said, it's a good problem to have that they didn't have room for you to come help. That means a lot of people are reaching out and doing that as well. So very cool. Yeah. Well, it's been a long time since we've chatted, so it's good to talk to you again and have you on the show. And see you help me carry the weight of a 2-hour show is awesome. So
yeah, this backpack's getting kind of heavy. I need you to pull your weight here.
Yeah, well, what are you trying to suggest? You're carrying the show? Is that where we're going here?
That's the suggestion, at least.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Sheldon. Sorry you got to go. Just dial tone. That's the dial tone. All right. But anyway, let's get to it. I guess it's time for the news. What do you think?
I think it's a good topic to start with.
Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, if it looks like Sheldon is actually rehearsing for the latest Kung Fu movie, it's not. It's just a little bit of latency on his camera as we go through the show. The kind of feed that I'm using to bring his feed from the World Wide Web into the show creates a little bit of lag, and I haven't chased that down yet. So no, Sheldon's not going to be working with Jackie Chan in the next Shanghai Surprise or whatever. It's just a issue of lag. So I just wanted to point that out because it does look kind of funny when I'm watching it. It kind of cracks me up. But anyway, let's get to the news, folks. Time for the news. All right, folks, here we are in the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'm your anchor, Brent Thomas, and joined by my co-anchor, Sheldon, as we dive into all the strangeness and weirdness and just general oddities that I like to cover for the Paranormal Portal News. Now, one interesting thing is that it's been kind of slow in the news desk because I had to go through the archives for most of tonight's newscast because there wasn't a lot new going on. And I don't know if that's good or bad or otherwise, or it's just because it's a holiday and people had some time off and weren't writing articles. But let's see what we did find here. The only relevant, timely article that I'm pulling up is the one that I'm going to read to you now. And this is kind of a revisit to one we covered a few weeks ago when we talked about a U.S. naval submarine colliding with something, and I think they're in the South China Sea, but I'm going to see where they were. But I know it was over by Asia there. And apparently now, according to unexplainedmysteries.com, they know what it was. Let me just check something to make sure. Yep, you're there. Okay, I want to make sure I had your camera activated on this scene. It says U.S. submarine collision mystery object now identified. So suddenly they figured out what the hell it was they hit. And let's read what it says. Last month, a nuclear submarine was reported to have collided with an unknown object in the South China Sea. Yeah, it was. Okay. The incident, which involved the USS Connecticut, generated quite a bit of attention at the time, due, at least in part, to the intriguing lack of information regarding the identity of the object that the submarine had collided with. According to reports, 11 U.S. crew members were injured. However, fortunately, nobody was seriously hurt. Some speculated that the submarine had collided with an enemy vessel, while others maintained that the incident might have had something to do with the UAP's unidentified aerial phenomena. Ooh, there was another Coca-Cola coming
Dinner
back
again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I caught it this time instead of burping right into the microphone, so I'm getting better. The Navy pilots had previously pursued off the coast of the United States and are now rumored to be capable of operating both above and below the surface of the water. But now, though, according to the results of an investigation into the incident, what the submarine actually collided with was a previously uncharted seamount at the bottom of the South China Sea. Previously uncharted.
What is a seamount?
I don't know, but I hope we're going to find out. Essentially underwater mountains. Really? They didn't know there was an underwater mountain there, Sheldon.
Wow.
How in the hell are you operating a submarine anywhere that you don't know what the bottom of it looks like? That's about
There's sonar.
You'd think it would bounce back or something, give them a little clue something wall was coming up. Wow. Essentially underwater mountains. These often huge structures can be found all over the world and are thought to be the remains of extinct underwater volcanoes. They are targets of study by scientists due to their potential to host unique and varied wildlife. They also can provide hazards to vessels. No kidding. As appears to have been the case here. I don't buy it. I don't think that they just found a whole underwater mountain they didn't know was there. That doesn't wash for me at all.
Feels like the propaganda speech rather than what the truth is.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're recovering the flying saucer they rammed. According to the NOAA, there are over 100,000 seamounts over 1 kilometer tall on the ocean floor. However, scientists have so far only explored a tiny fraction of them, less than 0.1%. Well, then what are they bringing submarines down there for then? If they don't, don't they map them as they go? I mean, don't they, like you were saying, don't they ping that stuff and go, there's not like there's windows in these submarines. So they're kind of relying on instruments, I think, pretty much exclusively for driving, other than the periscope or whatever. But that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
That doesn't make sense because even if you don't have it mapped out, that's what sonar is for.
Well,
so you can see what's going on without actually seeing it.
Right. And the other, honestly, if you're, because it's not like you're looking out the windshield as you're driving your submarine going, oh, turn on the lights, hit the high beams, something's coming. They're doing that. They're bouncing stuff around all the time to map their surroundings. So how did they manage to hit a mountain that they didn't know was there? First, they didn't know it was there, and then they didn't even manage to avoid it. They hit it.
Rogan Ridge put it best. They put on cruise control.
Hey Siri, drive this thing, will you? Yeah, it's like, they're using Google Subs. It's like, what the hell are these people doing? That's your tax dollars at work there, ladies and gentlemen. I don't believe it for a minute, but that's the version we're getting. So there's not much we can do about it. I just think that's about the stupidest thing ever. It's like, it's like the way that they debunk flying saucer reports. All of the weird ice crystals and the sun's helix shining through them and blah, blah, blah. Just a bunch of nonsense. Well, this sounds stupid. This actually, if it is true, that's more disturbing than anything, because if they manage to drive a submarine into a mountain underwater, and this is what's keeping the peace in the world. Are you serious? It's like, okay.
Yeah, the only thing that could be brought up is, but then again, it's hard to believe it now. But when the only thing I could believe is that it was a faulty sensor, or whatever sonar device they use, it was faulty. That's the only other thing I could think of that would make sense somehow.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm sure they, even on like commercial passenger planes, they have redundancies for everything. So I can't believe that they would, just have a little seaweed on a sensor they needed to rub off and they would have been fine. I think they probably got whole arrays of redundancies going on in this. This is a nuclear sub, for God's sakes. It's not the kind of thing you don't want to be floating around blind in. But anyway, there it is, folks. That's the explanation we're getting. Take it or leave it. I think it's a bunch of bunk, but that's the version we're getting, like I said. So we'll go with it. But coming up next in tonight's news, we're hitting the archives now of the strange and weird. Here's a weird report you won't hear very often. I don't think I've ever heard this before, but it actually comes from 2016 in the unexplained-mysteries.com archives. And this is: drivers find road blocked by a triceratops. You heard me correct. Drivers find road blocked by a triceratops. The Isle of Wight residents were left perplexed earlier this month by a dinosaur in the middle of the road. A huge prehistoric reptile, which authorities in Godshill believed had been moved into the road by pranksters who had stolen it from a nearby garden, ended up completely blocking off the high street. The model's owner, Martin Simpson, runs a local shop selling prehistoric gems and fossils. It takes about 5 blokes to move the dinosaur a couple of inches, so it was definitely a concerted effort, and drink was probably involved, he said of the incident. Thankfully, local authorities were eventually able to move the dinosaur back to where it belonged. There's actually a screenshot here. I'll put this in on the TFR chat for those of you on TFR, but yeah, it's not like a skeleton. It's like an actual model of a Triceratops. That's not
hilarious.
what you see every day. That is not what you'd expect to see every day. Let me go over here to the vault, and I'm going to let you guys see Bam's in there. So Bam and Freeman are in the TFR chat, so they can check out the Triceratops in the road. Oh, Lucky's in there too. Good to see you, Lucky. Thank you for hanging out with us here on the portal. But yeah, Triceratops, folks. You can't make this stuff up. It's actually hilarious. That's got to be a little terrifying, though. If you're already got some sauce in you, and you shouldn't be driving then anyway. Never mind.
Yeah, true.
Never mind. Back to the sketch. But that was the second article. Very, very weird stuff.
Very
but
funny.
what's next, you ask? Well, let me tell you. Oftentimes we've talked about meteorites crashing into houses. The one woman woke up to a meteor in her bed next to her under a pillow, as after it came through her roof, somehow managed to avoid her. But not everybody is so fortunate, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes those meteors or meteorites cause a lot more problems. And here's the problem. It caused this person from 2016, February 8th, 2016, unexplained-mysteries.com tells us a man is killed by a meteorite impact in India. Yikes. A bus driver has been walking along the street when a chunk of rock fell from the sky and killed him. Wow. Is that some karma or what? What the hell? I mean, what are the odds, Sheldon?
I can't imagine. More than 1 in a million, probably.
Oh, geez. It's got to be 1 in trillions. It's got to be 1 in like 11 trillion or something. It's like, I don't know. That is strange, but I just at the right. I mean, that must have been like, that must have been having to happen. I mean, that's like somehow that guy probably cheated death 3 or 4 times before this. It's like, all right, you're coming home. I told you you're coming home. And
I mean, think of the chain reaction that would have to cause in order for that to happen. I mean, that could potentially date back all the way to the Big Bang, like as far as the chain reaction that was caused.
Very true. And that's like, there's that saying, everybody, there's a bullet with your name on it out there, maybe. Well, it might come from the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Well, let's read the report. It says the unsuspecting victim had been at a southern college campus at Vellore on Saturday when the rock plummeted from the heavens and struck the ground, killing him and injuring 3 others. Wow. The impact, which was initially reported as a bomb explosion, threw the man high in the air and caused damage to several nearby vehicles and buildings. Oof. A fragment of the offending space rock was later found in a 2-foot deep crater nearby. Crater formed. That's the crater. Oof. I'll grab this one and put it into TFR as well. They can see the picture of the impact site, which is, I mean, wow, to make that kind of hole in solid ground. That's got to be ugly. It says, and it says a mishap occurred yesterday when a meteorite fell on campus of a private engineering college in Vellore district's Cape Panthrapali village, said Chief Minister Jaya Litha or whatever. I've ordered the Vellore district administrator and hospital officials to provide them best treatment. Well, that was good of you. The fatality is believed to be the first time anyone has ever been killed by a falling meteorite. Wow.
They made history.
Yeah, that's one way to go down in the books. Yeah, the unluckiest guy in the universe. That's basically what that means. You were somehow killed by a meteorite that could have, like you said, could have been spurned into motion since the Big Bang. just managed to have his name written on it through all these billions of years, and managed to come down and smite him, as it were. He was smite.
Or is this one pissed off alien?
Yeah, that's there is that. There could be. Could have been other intelligences at work, huh?
Could. You never. I mean, as far as the unknown goes,
Yeah.
we don't know.
We don't know. That's why it's the unknown, folks. But let's get to the next one here on the Paranormal Portal. And this next article, we got 7 minutes left, so we're doing good. I think we'll be okay. Is this one is not your average house pet. When you think of house pets, cats, dogs, maybe a bunny, maybe something like that, something cute and fluffy. And snuggly is always good when you're picking your house pets. But this guy had something else in mind, folks. And this guy, the stories come from 2016 and January 26, 2016, as a matter of fact. Man keeps alligator in the basement for 26 years. Oof. That's got to be a huge gator. Well, I don't know. I don't know if they're indeterminate growth or determinate as far as that's concerned, but they may only grow to as big as the enclosure allows them to. But still, that's an old gator. A huge alligator had been living in an Illinois man's basement for the better part of 3 decades. These days, people keep a lot of strange and exotic creatures as pets, but while it might not be that unusual to see someone with a pet snake or spider, an alligator is a different matter entirely. In a bizarre news story that emerged this week, a repairman paying a visit to a suburban home in Illinois got the surprise of his life when he discovered a 200-pound alligator inside a cage in the basement. Oh, my God. It later turned out that the owner, Charles Price, had kept the alligator there as a pet for 26 years, and nobody else had even known it was there, not even his neighbors. According to police reports, Price had obtained the creature when it was only a few centimeters long and had kept it alive by feeding it chicken breasts and by exercising it in his backyard. He has since been charged with the unlawful possession of an endangered species. What Well, there you have it, folks. I guess that was not an allowed pet either. Oh, wow, endangered species? What kind of gator is this?
Aren't alligators endangered?
Maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know. It seems like Florida's got a ton of them, but and so does the South. But maybe not. Maybe they are endangered. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, I guess. But that is not, when you think of a pet, that's not high on my list. I mean, we've had snakes and stuff through the years, but you could handle them. But when you've got a 200-pound alligator, you can't go anywhere near that thing without being worried about it biting off some part of you, Ugh.
I would think so too. I
don't know. Oof. That's not your average house pet. But there you go, folks. That's another one from the bizarre stories on unexplained-mysteries.com. That's a mighty loud keyboard, boy.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to mute.
It's okay. Just you and Don could have like the typing Olympics. You both hammer the hell out of your keyboards.
I just need a new keyboard. I need to get a silent. This one's a mechanical keyboard, so it's loud. I need to get a silent one for when we're on the show. Absolutely,
but no, I mean at least you don't type all during the show, usually. But here's the next one from the weird. And I don't know how long this article is. It might be a little bit longer. We got 4 minutes left before the end of the break. But from unexplained-mysteries.com, the bizarre files, UK police reveals most ridiculous 999 calls, which I think is their version of 911. And this is from January 19th, 2016. Says authorities in Britain have revealed some of the strangest 999 calls received over the last few years. In one case, the police received a phone call from a woman who believed that a large poisonous spider had been hiding inside of a furniture packing crate and was delivered to her house. When officers arrived to investigate, however, they discovered that the spider, which she claimed, had trapped her inside of her kitchen. Her kitchen. The little spider trapped her. It has a strategy. Was in fact a small piece of fluff underneath the door. The incident is just one of several revealed by the Wiltshire police over the last week as part of a campaign designed to highlight the issue of wasting police time with inappropriate 999 calls. It says, I once took a call from a man who was lost in some woods, said senior operator Dominic Taylor. He was on his way home from a night out and was scared that a badger was going to attack him. One case involved a woman who called police to ask for help cleaning her toilet, while another saw a rollerblader ask for a lift because she had reached the hill that was too steep to go up. The campaign aims to educate the public about the appropriate use of the 101 and 999 numbers, reduce demand on the Crime and Communication Center, and highlight the excellent work of our call handlers who are often under extremely difficult circumstances, said a police spokesman. Wow. Yeah, that's not the kind of calls you want to get when it's an emergency. I can't climb this hill. Come get me. That's not what you want. But there you go. Not nearly as entertaining as it sounded like it would be.
Yeah, it sounded like it was going to be funny.
It did. We got one more to go here, and this one is kind of like when this is the thing that I always thought, if you bought a winning ticket and for some reason you didn't hand it in or you lost it and then you found out, would you want to know if those numbers ever won? And for me, I wouldn't want to know. But something kind of similar happened to these people. It says couple lose out on $52 million win due to a faulty app. From January 3rd, 2016, it says a husband and wife from the UK missed out on the lottery jackpot despite matching all 6 numbers. Winning the lottery should have been a dream come true, but for grandparents Edwina and David Nyland, who managed to pick all 6 numbers in the UK lottery draw just before Christmas, jubilance and celebration very quickly turned into misery when they realized to their horror that their entry in the draw hadn't registered properly due to a technical issue during purchase. Oh, God, that would be horrible. We've tried to have a laugh about it, but we're completely distraught, said Edwina. We spent years paying out to the lottery, and this month we could have changed our lives. To make matters worse, the payment for the ticket did eventually go through, but by then it was just too late. The draw had already passed, and the matching numbers were no longer valid. It was like all of our dreams had come crashing down around us, said Edwina. We feel like we've been cheated out of it, and I gotta agree. If they matched the numbers and they could prove that they actually purchased it, oh, that's some shenanigans right there. Right?
Yeah, I think they're trying to.
That's scammy as hell.
That's scammy.
That is creepy. Oh, those poor people. I hope that karma has paid them back times 10. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up the news for tonight. Okay, folks, we're going to go to break here in just a couple of seconds, so don't go away. We'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal. Don't go away. ladies and gentlemen, we're back at it here on the Paranormal Portal. We're in half hour number 2. If you can believe it, it's gone extraordinarily quickly. The first half hour always flies by, but then again, so does every other half hour of the 2-hour shows.
Yep, nothing changes.
Nothing. Well, hopefully the material does, though. But other than that, yeah, I think it's kind of a time anomaly. And I say that tongue in cheek, but I mean honestly, many times I've sat here going, God, is that possible? What was it last night when Don and I were doing the show? It got to be break time, and I was looking down, going, "Wait, which break should I be on now?" Because it didn't seem possible that I was on the last break yet. Like it felt like I should be hitting one of the earlier break buttons, and then it was like, wow, really? It's been that quick. So it happens, but that's just how it rolls here. And maybe it's part just doing the shows. Like doing the shows, it maybe makes it seem faster. Maybe then for those of you out there watching, I'm just saying it could be, but it's a perceived time anomaly for me.
Yeah,
and for you, Sheldon, right?
It always is. I've just kind of learned to accept being surprised by the time at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of being surprised, let's get into an article from our very dear friend, Mr. Brent Swanser. And then we're going to visit some articles from Lon Strickler's Phantoms and Monsters tonight as well. But this one is a real new one from Brent Swanser and is posted on mysteriousuniverse.org. So first of all, let me just say, please check out mysteriousuniverse.org. It's a fantastic site with many talented, incredible writers, but the pinnacle of which, in my opinion, will always be Brent Swanser. He's just always been my favorite paranormal journalist out there. But, and I've said this many times, but I hope you guys do actually reach out to Brent Swanser and get to know him. He has a group on Facebook called Dark League Paranormal. And you can just, do the whole join thing on Facebook and get to know the guy. He's just a fun guy. He's got a great group of people over there, and they're having great discussions all the time. And he always showcases his articles there, as well as on the Paranormal Portal fans page, as does Lon Strickler. Both of them link articles on our fans group page. So if you want to just have a one-stop shop for all of the great articles, you can definitely just join the Paranormal Portal fans group on Facebook. So anyway, this article tonight we're going to get into is one that I've had on deck here for a couple of nights now, and I didn't get a chance to get into it last night, but I thought, this will be a good one to get into tonight. So here we go. And this one has to do with the title of it is A Very Weird Mysterious Vanishing and Death in Poland. Now, a lot of us are absolutely compelled by the 411, missing 411, and I don't know if this follows those same storylines, but there's no question that although people disappearing in national parks has been a huge phenomenon for us here in the States and around the world with David Pleitis and his Can-Am group, they've documented a lot of really strange and bizarre tales. But mysterious vanishings are not, just something that happens in the wild parks, the national parks, or, and David has done some exposés on some urban missing people as well. And those cases are just as bizarre as the ones in the national parks, if not sometimes even more so, because generally they happen in very populated places. I don't know the background of this story, but we're going to learn it together as we get into it. Again, this is from mysteriousuniverse.org, and the article, A Very Weird Mysterious Vanishing and Death in Poland. And this was written on November 26th, so it's fresh from yesterday. In fact, yeah, I pulled it up yesterday to use on the show, and then I was like, wow, brand new. But we'll talk about it tonight. So let's get into this, folks. I hope you're ready. Buckle up, because Brent Swanser's articles are absolutely phenomenal. Here we go. Sometimes weird mysteries flock around the last people you would expect. For all appearances, 30-year-old Matus Kawecki from Hutkau in southeast Poland was just a normal guy. He lived in Hanover, Germany, where he had a normal job as a construction worker, where he had no problems. He had a fiancée back in Poland who was pregnant with his child, and he was mostly a content and unassuming guy. On March 28th, 2018, he decided to take some time off of work in order to head out to the village of Lupia Gora in northwest Poland, where his fiancée lived, in order to be there for the birth of his child. When he left Hanover in his car at 11:30, he was in high spirits, looking forward to seeing his new child and the bright future he saw ahead. However, he would never arrive and would become a strange, unsolved mystery full of weirdness. The following morning, his fiancée waited for him, but Koecki, who was expected to arrive in Poland around 9 a.m., didn't show up. She later received a text message from Koecki telling her he was running a couple of hours late due to traffic, so she waited some more. But as the day went on, without any sign of him, she became increasingly worried. She tried several times to call Koecki's phone, but there was no answer, and her texts also received no replies. She then contacted Koecki's mother and sister, but they hadn't heard nothing from him, and were also unsuccessful in calling his phone. Koecki's father, who also lived in Hanover, would tell them that he had called him at 10:30 a.m. on the day he was supposed to arrive, and was told that there was bad traffic in the area of the Polish village of, this is going to be a tough one, Szczecin, I don't know, on the German border, around 133 miles from his destination, which coincided with the message that his fiancée had gotten. They decided to wait and see if he would show up, thinking perhaps he was just running very late. But he never did. And when the following morning came, and he was still nowhere to be seen, they contacted the authorities. At the time, they were told that nothing could be done because Koecki had not been missing very long and would probably show up. After several more days had passed, it was becoming more and more obvious that something was very wrong, and Koecki was listed as a missing person. Polish authorities were able to ascertain that his cell phone had been turned on for several days after he had last used it. His cell phone had been turned on, okay, for several days after he had last used it, but were unable to actually locate the phone itself. And German authorities had no luck either. Oddly, it would be found that the phone had never connected to a Polish phone network, making it a mystery as to how he had been able to use his phone to talk to his father and send text messages to his fiancée. Although the border wasn't staffed, there was CCTV cameras installed, but when all of the footage was checked, there could be found no evidence that Koecki had ever even crossed the border at all. As this was going on, Koecki's family got the impression that authorities weren't doing enough and went about their own investigation, retracing his entire route, questioning potential witnesses, plastering missing persons posters everywhere, and even pleading with the public for information on TV. But there was no trace to be found of either Koecki or his car, and no new leads. Where had he gone? What had happened to him? Nobody knew. And the police just sort of shrugged their shoulders, pronounced that he had run off to start a new life. Wow, is that a slap in the face? I don't know where he is. Must have started a new life. See ya. We're done. Oh, that's brutal. And that was the end of it as far as they were concerned. However, the case was to prove to be far from over and would go on to take a grim twist. On September 12, 2018, Koecki's mother, who lived on a rural farm in Hutkau, got a visit from a neighbor saying that there was a foul stench coming from her barn on the edge of his property, and that had been getting progressively worse since that July. He told her he thought she might have a dead animal in there, and that he would go in and check it out for her. He went into the barn, but rather than a dead animal, as expected, the neighbor found some clothing in the attic that contained the badly decomposed remains of a person. Police were immediately notified and arrived at quite the gruesome scene. They found the decapitated torso of a man, the head lying nearby and seeming to have had some teeth knocked out, but too deteriorated to be immediately identified. The clothes were bloody and had some of the teeth stuck to them, seeming intentionally. There was no sign of a struggle or a weapon that could have been used to carry out such a carnage. From the roof of the barn hung 2 nooses, and a backpack was also found containing a cell phone, wallet, a Polish water bottle with the cigarette butts in it, and an orange juice box. Of his car there was no sign, and the keys were missing as well. It did not take long for Polish police to establish that the body belonged to the missing Matus Koecki, And as the what was now criminal investigation continued, there would be a lot of weird clues. The backpack was confirmed to have belonged to him, but the contents were odd because his family insisted that he never drank orange juice and hated it. The cell phone also showed that he had last used it to make a call on March 30th, but that it was to his uncle. Only lasted a few seconds and never even went through. As if he had changed his mind or it had been a misdial. There was no DNA evidence on this at the scene from anyone else, and no fingerprints except for Koecki's on his belongings. Perhaps weirdest of all was the fact that the family had often used the barn during the summer, so it seemed extremely odd that they wouldn't have noticed the stench of a rotting corpse up in the attic. Unbelievably, the Polish authorities would deem it a suicide. Wow. How do you knock off your own head, put your teeth that fell out all over your clothes? Oh. With no evidence of foul play. That's strange.
Yeah. It's what?
I don't know. They claim. Go ahead.
No, I don't. Just like you said, how could that be? I don't understand.
Yeah.
How?
Me either. They claim that he had hung himself, after which the head popped off when the body had decomposed, something his family adamantly denied he would ever do. This would lead Koecki's family to claim that they were botching the investigation, only reinforced when a shoe with severed foot was later found in the hay, showing they had not even conducted an in-depth search of the premises. In the meantime, German authorities were also on the case, and it would get even stranger still. The call made to the father was found to have not been made from the village of Szczecin, but rather from within Germany, meaning that he had lied about where he was and where he was going. The German police would later find evidence that Koecki had in fact never headed towards his fiance's house at all, but had rather taken a train to the German border town of Frankfurt and Oder 24 hours after the call to his father, and then headed to the Polish town of Słubice, just across the river, where security footage showed him checking into a hotel with an unidentified person. He then headed to Warsaw, Poland the next day by train alone, from where he had taken a bus to the town of Zamość, about 13 miles from his hometown where his body was found. Although now he had gotten there, and what had happened to his car were baffling mysteries. What was going on here? How did he end up in that barn dead, far from where he was supposed to be, and where was his car? Why did he lie to everyone about what he was doing and where he was going? Was he murdered? Did he kill himself? And what does the swamp of enigmatic clues mean? Why was the investigation so bungled? The mysteries, or the answers, have continued to elude us, and this is one of the stranger mysterious deaths there is. Wow.
I'll say.
That is bizarre. I mean, because it sounds like a missing person, one of those normal things, but to have him turn up in the barn of where his mom lives, allegedly hanged, but decapitated, without a foot, and in a terrible state of decomposition. It's like, what the hell is going on?
Well, and his teeth were pulled out, and apparently they put it in his clothes or something like that.
I guess. I don't know. That's so weird.
Yeah, that's why why would you do that to yourself? I'm going to pull my teeth out and put it in my clothes and then hang. It's like, what? Why? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. This is very, very weird. A very bizarre chain of events for no question. But what the hell's going on here? I don't know. And it doesn't sound paranormal at all, really. It just sounds like this guy maybe was involved in some real foul play, and maybe he didn't die in that barn, but maybe he was brought there and dropped off just to get rid of the body after it was in such a state of decomposition that, forensically there'd be no clues left,
That sounds way more plausible to me than what the police think is a suicide.
Yeah, that's very, very strange. But there again, I mean, a lot of the missing cases may have very, mundane, albeit horrifying details. Not all of them are paranormal. And even I think some of those that that are documented in the books and the research by David Paulides, they may be just cover-ups of some kind too. At least some of them. And I don't think that that's beyond possibility. I think that makes quite a bit of sense. I think because isn't that easier? Here's the thing with years of doing the paranormal. I've found that you got to keep an open mind because you really do. There's no way you can know. Any one person can know with any certainty what the hell's going on in this world of ours, in this reality, so to speak. But I still think that a lot of times things that can look fantastical can maybe be very mundanely explained with the right research, with the right angle of looking at it. Maybe it's not as fantastical as it seems. Now, that's not to suggest there isn't an incredible amount of paranormal and bizarre things going on. I certainly believe there are, but the missing cases to me they have a lot of gravity because the suggestion is that something unknown is somehow preying upon people, and that to me is incredibly unnerving. And I would like nothing more than for that to be a misunderstanding. That maybe it's just just a normal, because there's a comfort in the fact that it's a person doing this stuff. It's horrible and deplorable and unconscionable, but if it's just a person, there's still a solution, and it keeps it grounded in the normal, even though it's not normal, it's abnormal and it's broken and twisted. But if it's a creature that we don't understand doing it, the ramifications of that are so much bigger. So if it's some creature that can grab people from a crowd, disappear them, and nothing can find where it went, what happened, that to me is a lot more unnerving, because it means that there's something out there that can at will take somebody from what would normally be a safe situation and remove them and make them disappear and most probably die by some measure or another. So,
I mean, I could see that too, because of the fact that we're in some ways we're very easy prey. In some ways, we're extremely weak.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing we have going for us is our intelligence. We're not fast. As far as as far as nature and things that actually live out in the forests and in the wild, we're easy. The only thing we have is numbers and our intelligence.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at our physical strength, our muscle mass is not nearly as efficient and strong as like a chimpanzee's, which would have a similar amount of muscle mass, but the strength they can generate from their muscles is so much stronger than what we as people can. Our speed, is absolutely, I don't know, it's very, very slow in terms of the natural world. When you have something like the size of a house cat that can easily outpace a human being, a grown adult, and this is a much smaller thing, but their bodies work so much more efficiently and easily. It's like we're, and I've said this on the show before, and I'm not the first one to think this. I've heard it from other people initially, but it makes sense to me. We're not suited for this world very well. We're born without any kind of covering on us, so we're born absolutely vulnerable. We can't fend for ourselves for quite a while after our birth. You've got some animals that are actually climbing from the birth canal as these little beings, and they're crawling up into, like in the case of a kangaroo, they give birth to these little things that crawl from the birth canal up into the pouch and latch onto a nipple, and then they grow in there for a long time. Well, that's amazing, And as far as swimming, we're absolutely slow, lethargic beings. So we're not suited for our physical survival, other than our capacity to think and to create things. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you take all that away from us, and we become extinct. Like, that's
maybe it's
kind of how simple it is.
maybe it really is kind of a roll of the dice that we didn't extinct.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a very interesting article, and it is concerning, and of course it's a tragedy. Of course, some guy lost his life doing God knows what, because obviously he was doing something different than what he was supposed to be doing. So it does sound like something was up. He was involved in something else, maybe, or got entangled in something else on his way home, and just tried to keep people calm while he worked his way out of it. I mean, maybe he just picked up a hitchhiker that turned out to be some psychotic, whack job, and then it went downhill from there. I don't want to cast aspersions at the guy because we don't know anything about him or what he was really up to, but it's very strange that, all of the information they did have was not accurate because he wasn't telling them really where he was or where he was going. So
no, but you're right. It's like you were saying. It's good to keep your mind open because although it could be magical and crazy and fantastic, it could be simply explained with a little more information.
And this one definitely doesn't sound supernatural to me at all. It sounds like foul play, but what is the nature of it? I don't know. But it sounds like either he was involved with something or he got involved with something inadvertently just by, bringing someone into his car to give him a lift or something, some psycho deal like that. Like there's, a bunch of movies out there. What is it? The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer was one. He's just a hitchhiker. And then he goes absolutely psycho mental and hunts the people down that gave him a lift. So, yeah, and there's other ones out there like that. And, it kind of sounds like something like that. But, again, it's all just speculative. Weird stuff, though, folks. And that's the journey of the paranormal. Very foul play. I agree, Brent. Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate that. What about the fact that hair grows? Oh, I'm just trying to read the chat here, but it's like, wait, they're not talking about anything I'm talking about. I don't know if they are or not. I'm just looking.
Oh yeah, that's right, Meg. The fact your hair grows, there's something unique about us, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. I believe entities from other dimensions are using bodies to conduct secret meetings between one another to avoid being detected in their own location. Wow, that's interesting thought, Nathan. Nate. You got two names, Nathan, Nate. It's possible, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's quite a leap. But for what reason? I'd like to hear what your logic is for that, or where do you get that idea from? Because that's a very compelling thing to put out there. But where does that come from? How do you get that belief that people are, of course, possession's a real thing, spiritual possession. So could it be other dimensional possessions too? Maybe some people.
It could be as crazy as that. Yeah. I mean, it could be. Yeah.
But I'm just curious what the foundation for that belief is, because that's very interesting and also a little different. So I think you got to think outside the box. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting the guy down. I just want to understand where he's going with this, or where he went with this to get to that conclusion. There we go. Send in Sherlock Hemlock from Sesame Street. He'll find the truth. It was the letter P. I don't know. I don't know, folks, but weird stuff. I'll tell you what I do know. We're going to head to our next break. I heard it the other day. It made me think. What did you hear? Maggie, I heard it the other day. I'm just scrolled up, so I ended up in chat land that I don't know what the hell's going on. But I just saw that statement. We are heading to a break, if you can believe that or not. We're about 2 minutes out. And I just want to make sure to say now before I forget later, but if you're listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, or TalkStream Live, you can stick around. You don't have to change the dial. You don't have to do anything. You just got to let it roll, because coming up next is Paisley Wild, The Spaces Between, and her shows are always fun to listen to and very compelling information. So if you're into the esoteric or paganism or just other holistic ideals and different approaches, check out her show. She's got some great information. And what else was I going to say? Oh, I was going to tell you guys, the phone lines are open if anybody wants to call in. You can certainly feel free to do that. The phone number for the paranormal is 720. I was going to go 720, but that didn't sound right. 720-923-0500. And you'll get a hold of us here on the show if you've got something paranormal you want to share. By God, we'd love to hear it, so don't be shy.
We would.
Well, we would. You know we would, Sheldon.
Oh, yeah.
So there's your options, folks. But we're going to head to our hour break, and then we'll be back. So don't go away. There's still a whole hour of the Paranormal Portal yet to come, folks. So there's a lot more weirdness and wonder. Remember, we're going to get into the phantoms and monsters. There's a few really cool stories that Lon reported on in there, and we're going to talk about those and so much more. We've got a whole hour left, so we're going to fill it with the paranormal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, flipping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Looks extraordinarily bad.
They linger in a perpetual dream state, a nightmare from which they cannot wake. I can't see you, Mommy! Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back into our second hour tonight, and I appreciate you guys waiting patiently until we came back from the break. We appreciate that a bunch, because class was not dismissed. Was it, Sheldon? Sheldon?
Yes.
Present? Okay.
Present.
All right, thanks. Glad you're here. Don't know how I could do without you.
I know. I agree. Yep.
Well, welcome back. We've got a little fuzz on the line. Are you hearing that staticky?
I am hearing that, yeah.
I wonder what that's happening. Let me do that again. Last night I disconnected the network and reconnected it. Let's see. Yeah, it's still there. So hold on. Let me just do that quick. We're going to take care of this, folks, and get it all straightened out. So hold on. Those of you on TFR, just hang on a second. I'm just going to reconnect it, try to get a clean connection. Something about that.
I'll fill in the space. So the real talk here, is Scooby the real monster?
I can't even,
because he can talk. You know, he's
paralyzed.
a talking dog. Cold Stairs brought it up. I thought that was interesting.
Okay. Well, Jesus. All right. Well, sure glad I waited on that one. All right. Reconnecting the studio here, and there it is. And it looks like the static is gone. So there we go.
It is gone.
We've cured the staticky mess that was the second hour. But it's now taken care of. Scooby-Hoo. Yeah, Roo. That was kind of my Scooby-Doo impression. Sorry. I don't know.
Cricket. Where's the cricket button?
Oh, sorry. I'll get it for you.
Okay.
You get 1 or 2 or 3.
There we go. All right.
There you go. All right. It's just the power of the magic that is the Paranormal Portal. Thank you. All right. So we got some articles we want to get into at this point in the evening, and this is some excerpts from Phantoms and Monsters that I've been checking out by our good friend Mr. Lon Strickler of phantomsandmonsters.com. And if you ever get a chance, check out this site as well. It's another one of those sites. Now, the nice thing about Phantoms and Monsters is that they are actively researching a lot of different phenomena through research groups that they have, this network of researchers across the country where they're looking into things like the Mothman phenomena that seems to be appearing all over the place, not only in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, but also up in the Chicago area and in the Michigan areas and the Great Lakes areas. There's been a whole rash of sightings up there of these strange humanoids. And I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag about what they've discovered in their research efforts, but I got to tell you that it's quite a laundry list of some pretty impressive people in the field. The Whalens of SingularFortean.com are involved. Lon is involved, and several other fantastic researchers are also a part of this group effort and this whole network of people. But it's also a great repository where people can connect and let people know about their experiences. Like if you've experienced something otherworldly, let's say it's, for the Bigfoot, a lot of people stick with the BFRO for the reports. If it's UFO related, a lot of people stick with MUFON to do their reporting. But there's a whole laundry list of other things under this paranormal umbrella that a lot of people don't know where to go with it. Well, go to phantomsandmonsters.com and you can make reports there of things you've experienced, and Lon will get in touch with you, or one of his other researchers will, to discuss it. But it's a great opportunity to catalog what you've seen if you do have experiences of your own, and that can be documented. And the reason why I'm very pro reporting is because it's through these collections of reports that we can maybe start to address and identify patterns. Because otherwise, all of these events that people are experiencing, no matter how bizarre, they're just these standalone experiences until you have a comprehensive list and locations where people are experiencing these things. You can find patterns. You can, patterns emerge. And maybe it's a territorial pattern. Maybe it's a behavioral pattern. Maybe through the course of cataloging incidences over several years, you can start to find the times of the year that are most likely to produce events and such like that. So I think it's a very good thing that these guys are doing this, again, MUFON and the BFRO as well, but also phantomsandmonsters.com. It's a great opportunity to have a central repository of a lot of weird things. Now, the nice thing about Phantoms and Monsters is also that they don't just stick with one thing. They do Dogman, they do Black-Eyed Kids, they do white humanoids, they do all kinds of strange, the winged humanoids as well. And so there's a lot of different categories that are being tracked on Phantoms and Monsters. So let's start getting to some of these articles that Lon reported on and see what you guys think. So the first one, is this the first one really? Where's this? Yeah, it's the first one is here. Okay, so this is from October 5th of this year. And the report is a Glimmer man, transparent humanoid, encountered in San Bernardino National Forest in California. I'm not at all familiar with the area. The only thing I know about the San Bernardino, isn't that where the Valley Girls thing took off in the 80s? Oh my God, gag me with a spoon. That kind of stuff. Yeah, I was a 80s teenager, so I got a full dose of Valley Girl stuff, and everybody trying to be Valley Girls around the nation. So it was a pretty painful time to be in high school. That's all I'm going to say. But and I know some of you out there listening did the very same thing. Oh my God! All right. So, Glimmer Man talking about this. Now, I think this is kind of like the predator effect that people talk about, but let's see when they talk about transparent humanoids. A group of hikers in the San Bernardino National Forest. Why am I saying San Bernardino? It's like I got too many D's in there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's try that again. San Bernardino National Forest start to experience disembodied cries for help. They become lost somehow and then experience a transparent humanoid in a nearby tree. Now, it must not have been too transparent, obviously, because they were able to experience it, but that's pretty creepy. The following account was recently forwarded. Please don't think I'm crazy. We saw what I can only describe as the creature from the Predator movies in the San Bernardino National Forest. This happened on Friday, October 1st. Location was 34 degrees, 12, I don't know what all these things mean. 12 looks like feet in inches, but I know I'm wrong here. But north, and there, anyway, all of the what do you call it, coordinates for the event is recorded here on the article. I've highlighted them in blue. I will grab the link and put them in TFR chat for those of you over there. And if anybody knows how to use these coordinates, do you know, Sheldon?
No,
okay.
not like that. No.
Okay, all right. Well, there they are. If anybody's interested in them and wants to look up the location, I know it's the north, south, east, west map locations, but I don't know how to verbalize those. It says, okay.
You put it in chat. I'll just look it up.
I did. No, I didn't, but it's on. Yeah, let me just do that. You want the location in chat or the link?
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
let me grab
either.
the location and I'll put it in chat. And I'm sure it's going to be in the San Bernardino area.
Probably.
But
yeah. I'm curious too, though.
Okay, here's the coordinates. They are right there in the chat. Are you guys not? Yeah, I mean it's on your screen if you're on YouTube, and I highlighted them with blue so you can see.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so it says, okay, I totally understand if no one believes this because we're all still unsure of what the hell happened. But we sat down and came to a consensus on the events. We all agreed we witnessed the same thing. Me and 3 buddies were hiking in the San Bernardino National Forest, various trails, mostly the known ones, and mostly during the day. Friday, we were making our way to Clark's Summit. As we were walking, one by one, we noticed that we were veering off the trail. I asked my friend in front of me why he was going off the trail, and he asked our friend who was in front of him the same thing. The friend in front told us, I can hear a woman talking. You guys don't hear that? We didn't hear anything. We tried to convince her to leave it be because it was already kind of dark and we were close to where we wanted to set up camp on the trail. The friend in front is female and instead insisted that what she heard sounded like a female calling for help and that she sounded really close. So I think she felt inclined to investigate a possible female in distress while we were totally okay with going about our business. Okay, I get a bit spooked now because she's absolutely serious, and we absolutely could not hear whatever she was hearing. Here's where it got weird. We only ventured off the trail about 300 to 400 meters, yet at one point, we were completely lost. We don't have any fancy gear or GPS stuff because we've never needed it. But we've been on this trail enough to know we hadn't gone far. Yet we couldn't find the trail in any direction after walking for about 15 to 20 minutes. I started to feel weird, kind of dizzy / lightheaded. And when I mentioned this to the other 2, they said they felt weird as well. It was like someone had changed the environment around us or moved us somehow to another location. I had no idea which way to go, and now it was fully dark. My female friend said the woman's voice had said, I'm over here, and please help me. She said it sounded like she was hurt / crying. So here we are, somehow lost, after only walking for about 20 minutes off a large trail, because my friend was hearing voices. We decided to stop walking in any direction because the last thing you want to do at night is to get even more lost. We had 2 tents and sleeping bags in our packs, so we found a clearing and set up. We figured once the sun was out, we'd easily find our way back to the trail. Before we could even lay down to rest, I noticed a tree near us was moving as if someone or something was climbing it. It was really dark, and I wear glasses, so I really struggled to see. So I called them over to see, and I thought it was an animal at first, but it wasn't an animal. It wasn't anything. I could see the outline of what roughly looked like a human shape, but it was transparent, like completely see-through. The best way I can describe it is the way heat waves look on the pavement in the summer, you know, the wavy liquid effect. They saw it too. My male buddy said, "What the hell are we looking at?" And he finally spotted it, when he finally spotted it. They all said the same thing. It was transparent, but still visible due to the foliage around it being displaced and moving as it moved. We all just stood stone still, whispering theories back and forth as to what we thought we were seeing. I thought maybe it was some kind of optical illusion, but they both immediately jumped to aliens, of course. The thing just sat there, perched on a large branch for about 50 feet up. It's like it was watching us watch it. The other oddity is that after staring at this thing for about 10 minutes, we noticed all the normal forest sounds that we had heard prior had stopped completely. I mean, the only noise was us talking and the leaves under our feet. The hairs on my neck stood up, and I had goosebumps all over when I realized this, like something was truly wrong. After about 10 minutes of us standing there, whatever this thing was started to climb up the tree even more, until we could no longer see it at all. We approached the base of the tree slowly, And we walked around in a circle with our necks craned up, trying to see this thing. It was too dark, and the trees were too close for us to see the top. We didn't hear it jump to another tree, so we assumed it was just still up there. We were all too spooked, obviously, to camp right underneath whatever this was, so we gathered our stuff and started walking towards the moon. I kid you not, after about 5 minutes of walking, we were back on the trail. I literally dropped my bag and said, WTF out loud. We all stood there confused, looking around, trying to confirm what we were seeing. My buddy likes to joke and said maybe we walked through some hallucinogenic spores and had imagined all of it. I highly doubt that, but whatever happened, it seemed kind of, I guess, predatory. Like, it seems like something was luring us or trying to confuse us. My friend still thinks we were screwing with her about not hearing the woman she claimed to hear. Was it that thing we saw in imitating a woman? How did we get so lost so close to the trail? This was easily the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in the wilderness. We still don't have a good theory as to what we saw. It may not have been an alien, but whatever it was humanoid. And it was 100% transparent somehow, and able to climb a really large tree with ease, without making much noise. Has anyone else seen anything like this in the woods? I'm just going to look down below. It doesn't look like Lon has any further information about that, but yeah, that's really creepy. So Sheldon, it's kind of like the Predator, right?
It's what it sounded like. I was either thinking interdimensional or alien. Actually, it could be anything. It can't be. I don't think it'd be a ghost or spirit.
Oh, well, you don't think? Yeah, it doesn't sound like it was, but it does. Like, it sounds like it's whatever it was physical, because it did make some noise climbing that tree. Yeah. It's not like it was absolutely silent, but it was something, right?
It was something humanoid shaped.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
See the outline.
Right. So, and I'm kind of at a loss to try to think, what could this be? Because obviously, there's the concept ideas that people have, like it could be extraterrestrial, that would maybe enable something to be transparent, in other words, to kind of cloak. But what else could? Well, the other consideration is it could be a form of cryptid, and obviously we know nothing about any of the cryptids, really. We have ideas, but we know nothing really about them. They're out there, and people bump into them and see something. But what if there was a creature that had a skin ability, like an ability with their skin, much like cuttlefish or octopus have, where they can change the appearance to the point of blending in completely. And I don't know. I mean, that's got to be a real consideration, right?
I mean, I think so. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because when you think about it, it sounds kind of far out there, because there's only those species. Well, there's chameleons as well, but they just do a color shift. But like the octopus can actually change the texture of their skin, by I don't know if it's minute muscles or whatever that can imitate being coral, and then it can create the color patterns of coral as well. And so, is it impossible to think that since we have a demonstration of that in nature, is this what these people were seeing? Well, I don't know. Are they seeing? What I didn't really understand was they said they saw a humanoid shape, but it looked completely transparent. So if it was completely transparent, they wouldn't see the humanoid shape. But I think that what they're saying is it had a translucency about it that looked like light was coming through, but it still distorted the light enough that they could make out the humanoid shape. So was it a prismatic effect, or was it just the fact that it was imitating the sky behind it, or the branches behind it and everything else, and was able to simulate that with the skin, but not to the perfection, but it still revealed an outline that they could see. Now, we have run across stories about this kind of thing before, and I really do think that whatever these things are, they are most probably something in and of themselves. Like they're not they're not like, let's say they're not like rakes. Like a rake is could be a ghoul or some other, it's basically these humanoid looking things that are very gaunt and very pale, no clothing, basically naked, and they're bald. There's not a bit of hair on them, but they are also believed to be, carnivorous and attack and eat things. But there's no anecdotal evidence to suggest that they change colors at all. They just appear as these white things. Obviously, a skinwalker could be something else because they can change shape. Allegedly, they can become some other shape, but does that mean imitating a translucency? So I think it's something in and of itself. And there was another story, and I'm going to paraphrase it, and I'm going to be butchering the hell out of it too. But in the story, these people were at their house, and I believe the house was out in a rural area, and they heard noises like in their lawn up to the edge of the forest, and they could hear stuff moving around, but they couldn't really see it. So they grabbed their big flashlights or spotlights and went out looking and were flashing around. And apparently, because they were using spotlights on the grass, not even at the wood line, they saw what looked like a humanoid form, but was transparent or translucent. Like the light was coming through it. They could see their lights on the other side after it had passed by them or behind them. And somehow the light was refracting as if they were almost crystalline, because they could make out the way their flashlights appeared actually gave it the humanoid shape. So using the light was actually giving this thing away. And I don't think this thing had really picked up on the fact that they were seeing it, because it was still, and they said it was like tiptoeing, like it was sneaking, like, like Scooby-Doo, where somebody's doing the tiptoey thing. That's what they described this thing as doing, but they could see it because of the way the light was interacting with its camouflage. And so it does appear to be something else, but
I think Cold Hairs has a good point about that.
What's that?
I looked at the location, and this is right at the base of a mountain, it looks like, in California.
Okay.
It's right directly north from the national forest. And Cold Stairs says this type of creature would be a prime suspect for these people that just disappear right by groups in the national parks,
Very
missing
true.
411 type encounters.
Right.
And it's not a bad point, actually.
That is a good point. I see Mr. Wes Germer's in here. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for stopping in. He's had a nice holiday weekend.
Nice.
He took a few days off, which is awesome. Yeah, good for you, brother. I'm glad you got to step away from it all for a little bit and breathe. So glad that you stopped in here as well. But yeah, I think there's something to these things. I think that there's something else. We just don't know what they are. They seem to have a humanoid shape. They seem to be bipedal. They seem to be intelligent. But are they always translucent? Can they turn it on or off? Who knows? I don't know. It's just one of those things that it's come up, but nobody really knows. So we're down
Isn't there? So is this the one you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like the myth of the invisible people type of thing?
Well, I don't know if it's a myth, but there's, it's an invisible humanoid of some kind. But there's no understanding of what it is. It just looks like a humanoid shape. It's bipedal. It stands upright, but it looks translucent. Now, I've seen people, I have seen, there's a person that's a Bigfoot researcher, and she was a habituator. So she was or is, I don't know what she's up to now, but her name is Barb Shoop. And she had these videos on YouTube, Barb and Gabby, her dog's Gabby, and they would go out to this place where, they would bring stuff and then go and check it out afterwards to see what was eaten, what was taken. They do jars and things closed in jars, and those jars could be open or peanut butter's gone or whatever. But there was one episode on YouTube, and if you look it up, I'm sure you'll find it if you put a little effort into it. But it's her and a group of people she's bringing out there to show this area. Now, as they're out there, they are kind of recording around, and they start to hear something, and it's not really clear if what was going on exactly, but she was explaining something, and then they realized there was a translucent shape. Now, this translucent shape was probably only 3 feet tall, though. I mean, it was not a full-sized humanoid shape, but it was a diminutive humanoid shape, and they caught it on camera, folks. Now, what happens is this thing standing there, and suddenly it jumps down and goes back through like a log that it was standing up on or whatever, and is just gone. But you can see that it has a humanoid shape. It's much smaller, but there's something out there. There's something out there that they did catch on camera. Is that the same thing as these things? I don't know. But it stands to reason that it very well could be some form of other lives that exist here, that exist right in front of us, and we don't see them. So, but again, it's Barb and Gabby. I don't know what the name of the channel is, but her name is Barb Shoop, and she seems like a nice enough person. She does not seem like a person that does video editing and After Effects and all that stuff. I think she seems pretty sincere. I don't know what the hell she caught. But anyway, check it out. We'll be back, folks, in just a couple minutes. Don't go away. right, folks, welcome back to the last little bit of show we got. Wow, it's gone fast. How you doing, Sheldon?
I'm doing great, and like I said, I'm never surprised. It's always the case. I look down at the clock. It's like, oh wow, we're almost done.
We're almost done now. What the hell happened? Someone put a roofie in my drink, man. I don't know. Feels like it sometimes, but we are, of course.
I had a question for you, if you don't mind.
Oh yes, by all means.
So one of the facts that I read on the break was that in Germany and Russia, Bigfoot is considered an endangered species.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that still the case to this day?
As far as I know, I found that it was a list of facts that are on the BFRO page, and there's supposedly facts about Bigfoot, and so every one of those was taken from there. So I assume so.
I think that's pretty cool that some countries are taking it seriously and actually. I don't know if it's a policy or what you want to say about it, but that they're at least taking it seriously enough to put it on an endangered species list. That's pretty cool.
Some states have also, outlawed hurting them, and that's not under the pretense that they're an official acknowledgement, but I think there's at least a consideration for they might be out there, and if they are, don't shoot them. Other states don't really care, but I'm encouraged by that because I think, of course. They are out there. I'm really, really convinced, but just for the argument's sake, if they are out there, obviously they're not in, huge numbers. And so they would be a vulnerable population just simply because of our encroachment. And so, they're going to be pushed to, as we're using up habitat and maybe even ancestral places. Like I think they're a being of some kind of culture, and they probably have patterns that they've done since the Ice Age of things that they would do every season depending on what's going on. And so, I think that as we've grown out and expanded ourselves, that's probably one of the reasons why they're being seen is because they're still following these ancestral routes, but now it might be, going next to a housing development, whereas before it was, wilderness. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. So yeah, I think it's cool that it's being acknowledged. But again, I don't know. There's anybody's guess how many are out there. I've heard numbers from 3,000 to 50,000, and who knows? It's a dice roll at best to figure out what kind of populations we're dealing with. But yeah, kind of cool.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep. If a parent new Bigfoot law in Oklahoma, did that pass? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that did pass unknown. He was talking about I think there was I don't know if was it a law or whatever, but they were trying to basically create a season for Bigfoot in Oklahoma or something like that. And at first it sounded like a hunting season, but then they're like, no. And I thought that was a really stupid thing because hunters are they're generally, most hunters are very respectful and very observant of the areas they hunt in. They do it with, respect to the area and with respect to the prey that they're hunting. But this was a proposition that sounded like there was going to be a season on hunting Bigfoot. And I thought, my God, how stupid is that? Because right now there's many, many stories out there of hunters who've encountered Bigfoot, and they've even had them in their scope. But the big line is, it looked too human. I just couldn't shoot. I couldn't do it. And I think to, suddenly put a green light on that and say, hey, how about you guys go out and see if you can bag one for science? And suddenly these hunters, everything bipedal out there is suddenly on the radar. Right now, bipedal is like, oh, that's the, like there's a switch in them that has to do with safety. You don't shoot at something that looks like a person. And so I think you start turning off that switch, and suddenly the ERs around the country would be full of hunters.
I mean, another way to look at that too is that, you're basically, the way I'm seeing it at least, is you're basically asking for people to risk their life because, like all of the stories, you can't outrun these things if you change your mind. No. There's usually, according to the stories that I've listened to and heard, that there's always more than one. It's not just one that you see.
Right.
You know, there's always more than one. So yeah, you might get one, but what about the 2 or 3 or 5 that are around you?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Absolutely. There's stories of what's happened in those situations. We can go into that in a second. I think I actually heard it on Wes's show, but I don't remember for sure. Well, we'll get into that in a second. I just want to say a big shout out to Eliza. How you doing, Eliza? Good to see you. She said, shout out, say my name, say my name. I want to be famous. You should probably try another show if you're going for famous, but but I'll say your name if that helps. But
you're famous here. That's all that matters.
You're all famous here, every one of you. So the story that I had heard, and again, I'm paraphrasing this, but it was, I don't remember where it was, if it was in Maine or where, and I don't know. I'll just do my best. But this is a situation where apparently you're right, and this is a cautionary tale to anybody that might think of taking shots at one. But what they said was, the story goes that this family group went hunting, and they went up to the cabin in the mountain, but they were waiting for the dad to come. It was like his brother, the uncle, and then the nephew and some other people were hunting at this cabin. And the dad was supposed to come up later after he finished work or whatever. So apparently time came and left that he was supposed to have shown up, and they got concerned. And so I guess they went down the mountain back to where looking for him, backtracking that trail to see if something happened. If he, on his way up, like he got stuck or broke down or whatever and couldn't get help. So they go down the mountain, and they go to like this, apparently they found his truck at a quarry, like a stone quarry. And so what they found was absolutely horrifying, but as the narrative, as I remember it, and forgive me if I'm wrong, and some of you out there I'm sure are familiar with this story, but apparently the guy was going up to join the others at the cabin, but before he went up there, he stopped in this quarry to sight in his rifle. So he stopped there and did some shooting. And allegedly what had happened, because they found the tracks and they found the blood and they found, they stitched this storyline back together. But what had happened was apparently a Bigfoot appeared on the ridge. And so the guy was sighting in his rifle and ended up taking a shot, hitting it and dropping it. But then he, I don't know if he ended up running up there to see, but I don't know if there was more shots fired or not. I know it was at least one, and may very well have killed the Bigfoot that he shot at. But they found the man in his truck, folded the wrong way in half. And I'm not talking like your nose to your knees. I'm talking like the back of your head to the back of your knees, like folded the wrong way and jammed behind his seat in the truck. So, apparently the rest of them that were there with the one that he shot decided they didn't like that too much. So
I would imagine so.
I think, as I recall, that's how the story goes, or something similar to that. Again, I'm just doing it from memory. I don't have the actual story, but yeah, they didn't like it much. So, Brent, I remember that story. Rachel says, "Okay, good. Well, at least I'm close enough to the story that it's recognizable." I thought.
Wow, I didn't even hear that story. That's nuts.
No, but you'd have to go and listen to. I think it was on Wes's show where I heard that one, but I might be wrong. Wes, if you're still out there, does that sound familiar? I don't know. I think it was your show. But anyway, that's pretty freaking scary. He was actually folded backwards in half and obviously killed.
I mean, as morbid as it sounds, it probably wasn't that hard to do for them.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, strength-wise, it wouldn't be very hard at all for something as obviously strong enough to break off huge branches and twist them and stuff. It wouldn't have much problem at all with the human body. Yeah. Oh, Digger Dog says he heard that one too. So yeah, at least I'm close enough. That's the thing I worry about when I paraphrase them. It's like, is this for sure how it went? I think this is right. So at least if you guys are recognizing it, it sounds familiar enough. But,
oh my God, Rachel, she's so morbid. Folded hunter is one of the most difficult yoga positions.
Yeah, apparently it hasn't worked out real well for those that have tried it. I don't even think it was their idea to try it, but yeah. Folded hunter. That's so terrible.
I love dark humor. It's something for me.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's awesome. Rachel, you're always on it. That's awesome. Okay, So yeah, that's just to speak to what you're saying. Yeah, there is that account that I can remember off the top of my head, but that was one where it went really wrong for that guy. So anyway,
I mean, so when you think about it, you can't really. I mean, you could try to drive away, but it could catch up.
Well, yeah. I mean, even if you ran back to your truck, I mean, these are things that, at the very least, are probably able to run in the 45-mile-an-hour range, as we heard from Bear, from the guy that had one chasing him on his four-wheeler. So 45 miles an hour, we run about 12,
Yeah, around.
That's like scared version. But yeah, I mean, I'd be lucky to hit 2 digits on, next to each other, and I'm not talking decimal points, but it's like, if this is something that can run that fast and with that strength, I mean, even if you did get into your car, the many people that have come face to face with them or said, this is a soundbite that Wes used on his show. It's like, I knew that it could have ripped the door off my car and yanked me out of my truck, and there wouldn't be a damn thing I could do about it. Like it could grab the car door and just shear it from the body of the vehicle. So yeah, it's not good. Backward. It's like it's after Downward Dog.
Oh no, backward facing Hunter.
Yeah, that's so
Oh no.
Oh well. Okay.
Rest in peace, that Hunter. Though I'm not. Yep.
You're not mocking the dead. No, but it
Nope,
was a bad.
not mocking the dead.
It was a bad choice for him to make. If indeed that's a true story, and I'm assuming it is, or it was at least given to us that way, or if that's indeed where I heard it. I don't remember. I wish I could remember for sure, but most of the Bigfoot stories I've heard have been on Sasquatch Chronicles, though. So that's a pretty safe bet. If you're looking for Sasquatch stories, that's where you're going to find them. All right, so there's a couple more articles I want to go through from Phantoms and Monsters. The next one is from, actually it's an old one in their archives on phantomsandmonsters.com, and this one is from Saturday, April 2nd of 2016. And this one is dealing with a dogman. Chilling dogman encounter in Clearfield County, Pennsylvania. And I don't know, there's a lot of this going on in Pennsylvania, which is pretty intense. But let's see, it doesn't. No, it's a pretty good. Excuse me. Oh, sorry.
Is there not a lot of sightings in Idaho or something?
There's some, but the thing with Idaho is that population density is so spread out. So I'm sure there's a lot of activity here, but there's just not as many people per mile, in any given direction. And there's some miles with no people on it, several miles with no people on it, especially up here in the north. But there's probably plenty of activity going on up here, and I'm sure. But let's see what this story says about the dogman. Dear Mr. Strickler, I apologize for the delay in regard to the info concerning the dogman of Clearfield County. This is going way back for me, but I read your article and I thought perhaps it just might help you out a bit. Around 1976 or 77 in the Madera area of Clearfield County, this would have put me at 6 or 7 years old. We lived just above the town of Madera, and it was very remote, few homes in that area, and very wooded. My dad would often patrol with the local officers from the Game Commission. I am pointing this out due to the fact of how he reacted when we saw this thing. He was a big guy, and very little scared him. We often shook our heads when he would go outside at night to scare off a bear with only a pitchfork. He knew wildlife and knew what their habits were, knew if they were going to be a problem on the farm, etc. On this night, we were woken up by a loud commotion near our front porch. We had outside cats that hung around the porch, and they would scatter when a raccoon or other animal would approach the front of the house. When they scattered, it was quite loud, hence the noise that woke us. I remember hearing Dad giving his typical angry sigh because he had to get up and see what was out there. He had gone downstairs, the house was quiet, and we were all waiting to hear the door shut. Instead, we heard Dad let out a bellow. This had us all running for the stairs. He was standing back from the door, gun in hand, and his face was, well, I guess you'd say scared. As I've said, nothing seemed to scare Dad, so seeing that look on his face made us all stand there uncertain. Outside, standing in profile, looking right back at us with no fear, this thing showed no fear at all. In fact, I remember thinking that it was angry. It just looked mean. It was a canine, certainly not a dog. It looked like a hyena on the front shoulders to the head. The back end was way smaller than the front shoulders and head. I do not remember seeing a tail. The fur was odd, sparse, and shaggy looking. It just didn't look like fur. It's hard to explain. The snout was not long and narrow. It was stubby but big. The whole body was huge. From its back end to its head, it was almost the width of our porch, and this would put it at least 7 feet long. It was huge. It stood there looking in at us and then looked out towards the barn, back at us again, and then simply, very slowly, walked a few steps, and then it took off. It was so fast. Literally, it was like seeing a blur of color, and then it was gone. We all just stood there. Then Mom asked Dad what it was, and Dad yelled at us for all of us to get upstairs. He stayed up all night, never went outside to check the animals, never even opened the door. Oddly enough, we never talked about it. Nobody ever mentioned it again. I wish I had more information to give you. However, this does give you a possible timestamp. I spent most of my life up there in that area, and it was a unique area to be sure. Many things happened up there that were unexplained, and I was glad to move away when I was 33. I do still live in the Clearfield area, but no more thick forests. Hope this helps. Yikes.
Dogmen have to be intelligent creatures. They have to be.
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, there's every indication that they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly the effect it's having, and they seem to get a kick out of it, you know. But now this didn't sound like it was upright. You know, it sounded like it was down on all fours, but that's also very commonly dogmen are seen both ways. It would be, I would think it would be harder to say for sure if it could be an upright canid if it was all on all fours, but you know, and maybe with that body style, it's just not that hard. Now, one interesting point is that people often hear, as they're going from quadrupedal stance to bipedal, they'll hear a pop, like something is happening in the hips to realign for the upright position. You know, like maybe it's rocking out of a socket and then rocking into a different position that it's built for. But yeah, it's weird stuff. I don't know what they are, but they don't seem at all afraid of us. And even in the points where somebody does have a gun, many people have claimed to have shot them with no effect. Like they can see the bullet where it hit, but didn't seem to phase it at all. Like it's not going in, like it's hitting and just, you know, dissipating or whatever, like it's slapping it rather than penetrating. And some pretty big calibers too. I don't know.
I mean, the same has been said from bears. So if they're like resilient in the same ways that, I mean, bears are in those moments, then that doesn't surprise me too much. You probably wouldn't see the effects of shooting it until after everything's over.
Yeah, but I mean even no blood trail. Like it never made penetration.
Oh.
You know? Yeah, so people are shooting them, putting rounds into them, can see the pelt move, like the skin move where they shot, but never a blood trail. Like there's never any blood after that. And so, I don't know.
That might reinforce the idea that they're ethereal in a sense.
But then why are they eating dead animals? Like so many people have witnessed them eating, you know, roadkill. If they're an ethereal being, why are they feasting on flesh and meat? You know?
I guess the only explanation I could give is maybe they are physical, but they can be ethereal or, you know, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, and that could very well be. But there's that's the big question. It's like, you know, ghosts when they're observed, I mean, they may be observed in a, you know, normal situation, but they're not like grabbing your sandwich and taking a bite or something, you know, they're just there. But they seem to exist in that energetic state rather than in a physical. But these things are regularly seen eating things and, you know, and even tearing things off of roadkill and running off, you know. So I don't know.
Liza also says built-in bulletproof vest. I mean, we don't have any material to know what they're made of, you know, and that's
Right.
in that sense, or their structure or anything like that.
Sure, but when you're using a caliber that would normally be used for like grizzly hunting, then there shouldn't be any skin that could do that. But again, there's something's happening in this situations, and I'm not saying that any of these ideas are wrong. I'm just saying it's one of those things like, wow, what could it be? What could it be that causes them not to? And again, I don't know. I have no ideas. But we got 5 minutes left, so let's.
Oh my God!
Let's do another one here, and this is one I've been excited to read too, and this has to do with a red insectoid being, and this one's a new one as well, from the 26th, so just yesterday, he released this, and I was like, oh my God, these stories come up every once in a while, every once in a great while, but they are very, very rare. So, red insectoid being lunges at children inside in Maryside barn. That's got to be horrible, horrible, creepy thing. Of all the creatures that I could see, the one that I would want to experience the least, and none of them do I want to experience, but the one that would terrify the hell out of me most would be some insect thing, because they generally speaking, insects don't reason, they don't think, they just do. It's like, if you saw a human-sized praying mantis, you'd be like, oh God, this is not good, because they are such efficient killers and wouldn't think twice about it. Cold Stares, Brent, there's Paranormal Portal. There's a Skinwalker Ranch story. They track a giant wolf. After they shot it, they found flesh and blood. Then the trail disappeared in a muddy area. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I don't think I've come across that one. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's possible, but it's just so many reports out there of people shooting them and not finding any sign that there was any hit whatsoever. Not a dribble, not a drip, just gone. 4 children in Maryside, England were playing in an old abandoned barn when they were attacked by an unknown red-eyed insectoid being. They were left hysterical after the incident. It says they were playing in a barn when they came across the unknown creature. 4 children were left hysterical after an unknown creature in an abandoned and haunted barn lunged towards them. In May 1951, the children went to play in one of the old deserted barns that once stood on Robbie's Car Lane. Dozens of locals recalled the rumors about a terrifying thing that would leave the dilapidated barn after dark and roam Roby and parts of Huyton in the present-day metropolitan borough of Knowsley, Maryside, England. But despite their parents' warnings of the old structures falling on them, rough sleepers living in the former barn buildings, and hearing strange stories about the place from other children, they still decided to explore the haunted barn. The creature was described as having dark brown, shiny skin, an insect-like shell on its back, 2 huge red eyes, and when it stood was over 6 feet in height. In a gang of 4 children, Tony, aged 8, Jill, aged 7, and Alan and George, both aged 10. God, I'm not going to have time for this, am I? No, there's no way I'm going to have time. We're down to 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I will read this probably on tomorrow night's show, actually, folks. So if you don't mind coming back for that one, there's just no way I can squeeze this in time. But that's a tough one because I really wanted to get to this one tonight. This is one of those stories that you don't hear very often. They do come up from time to time of people seeing these insectoid things. And quite frankly, most of the time when these insect-like beings are observed, most people assume that there's some kind of extraterrestrial. Like there's this praying mantis style or a mantis style extraterrestrials that have been observed in and apparently around craft. I don't know if it's from abduction scenarios in every case, but every once in a while they're encountered out in the wild too, just by themselves without a spaceship around. And I don't know if they're one and the same, or if again this is an opportunity where the multiverse is kind of broken down and things leap back and forth. I don't know. But creepy, creepy stuff. So we'll get into that tomorrow night. Sheldon, are you going to be able to join me tomorrow night?
Yeah, I should be around. Yeah, I should be here.
Okay, good. Because we'll get into it then and read that one and go into some more stuff. So we'll do a Cryptid Corner tomorrow night on our Sunday show. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to about wrap it up for us for the night. Sheldon, you want to tell people how to stay connected?
I think I will. We have a Discord channel where we keep everything up to date. All links and news on what we're doing and all that kind of stuff's on there. You can join in the description, or not the description, in the chat itself. There's the link.
The link is in the chat. I'll grab that and put that over in TFR as well. If anybody wants to join over there, they can certainly jump on the train. This is for the Discord chat, for the Paranormal Portal Discord. So, oh, did you do that? Did you make that portal with the circling O?
No.
Oh, that's really cool. I don't know. It just came up when I put the link into the DFR chat. It came up with a little portal with the O that circles around. But anyway, very cool, whatever it is. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Thank you all for joining us. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Stick around for Paisley Wild coming up next. Good night, everybody.